My own son stood in my kitchen, looked me straight in the eye, and told me I was an embarrassment. Said I needed to stop showing up to family events dressed like a handyman because it made his wife's parents uncomfortable. I'm Robert McLeod, 64 years old, and for the past 18 years, I've let my son believe exactly what he wanted to believe. He thought I was a retired construction worker, living off a modest pension and the goodwill of the union. What my son Derek didn't know was that I didn't just work construction. I owned McLeod Development Group, the company that built half the condominiums in the Greater Toronto Area, 16 commercial towers, and 3 shopping centers. Current valuation sits at $85 million. When he told me I had 60 days to sign over the deed to my house or face legal action for my own good, I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply made 4 phone calls. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're from, because this story is about what happens when someone mistakes kindness for weakness and simplicity for poverty. That mistake would cost my son everything he thought he'd built. Most people see exactly what my son Derek sees when they look at me. A guy in his mid-60s who drives a 2004 Ford F-150 with 300,000 kilometers on it and a dent in the passenger door from backing into a post at Canadian Tire. Someone who wears Carhartt jackets from Mark's Work Wearhouse and steel-toed boots that have seen better decades. I bring a case of Molson Canadian to family gatherings and always decline the fancy wine because I joke that anything that costs more than $15 a bottle is wasted on me. Derek McLeod, 34 years old, architecture degree from the University of Toronto, senior associate at Henderson and Cole Design Group, pulling in $170,000 a year. His wife Vanessa, 31, top-producing real estate agent in Mississauga, drives a $90,000 Mercedes, and has opinions about everything from my haircut to the fact that I still use a flip phone because smartphones give me a headache. The first warning sign came at Thanksgiving last year. We were at my house in Oakville, the same house I've lived in for 26 years, and Derek started referring to it as the family property in conversations with Vanessa's parents. Then it became their future primary residence, then just our place. When we take over the property, Vanessa announced while carving the turkey, we're going to gut this kitchen completely. Open concept, quartz countertops, the works. You can finally move somewhere that makes sense for your situation, Dad. Somewhere you can manage on your own. Somewhere I can manage. Those words stuck like a splinter under my fingernail. The second sign happened when Vanessa started posting photos of my house on her Instagram. She's got 22,000 followers, mostly other realtors and those lifestyle and design people. The caption read, "Exciting new project coming soon." Sometimes, family members resist change because they're stuck in the past. Can't wait to transform this dated gem. The comments were brutal. People calling me a stubborn boomer holding onto real estate that younger generations could use. One person wrote, "These old-timers need to downsize and let families actually grow. Just take over already and do what needs to be done." Vanessa screenshot the worst ones and texted them to Derek. "See? Even professionals agree. Your dad's being difficult." What neither of them knew was that I'd been watching these Instagram stories for months. Watching Vanessa show off the solid oak floors I installed myself 23 years ago, talking about ripping them out for some engineered hardwood. The master bedroom, where I held my wife's hand during her final months, now described as our future sanctuary. The workshop in the garage where I taught Derek to use a circular saw when he was 12, now earmarked for a home gym. In her world, I'm the stubborn old man who got lucky buying property in Oakville before the market exploded. Derek tells people I'm simple, that I don't really understand how real estate works in today's economy. He means well, he told Vanessa's father at a barbecue last summer. But Dad's generation just doesn't have the financial sophistication we have now. He thinks sitting on a property is smart, doesn't understand leveraging equity. My generation. The one that apparently stumbled into property ownership through dumb luck. But the real breaking point wasn't the Instagram posts or the condescending comments, or even the assumption that I'd just hand over my house because they asked nicely. It was what happened 2 months ago when Derek and Vanessa brought her parents to my place for dinner. Richard and Catherine Henderson. Richard owns Henderson and Cole Design Group, the architecture firm where Derek works. Catherine volunteers at charity galas and makes sure everyone sees her name on donor walls. They walked into my house like they were inspecting a teardown. Richard immediately started pointing out problems. Foundation could be settling on the east side. Roof shingles look original. This furnace is probably costing you a fortune in heating bills, Robert. These old houses, they're money pits if you don't stay on top of them. Vanessa was taking notes on her phone. Derek nodded along like an eager student. Dad, Richard's offering to connect you with a contractor he knows. Professional rates. You could probably get this place updated for under 60 grand if you're strategic about it. $60,000. Like I had that kind of money lying around on a pension. Robert doesn't really do major renovations, Vanessa explained to her mother. Fixed income, you know, pension and CPP. It's tight. Catherine gave me that sympathetic smile people reserve for the elderly and the unfortunate. Robert, have you thought about what happens when you can't manage the stairs anymore? My church has information about assisted living facilities in Hamilton. Very reasonable rates. Assisted living. I'm 64. I ski at Blue Mountain every winter and run the Terry Fox Run every September. Derek jumped in quickly. Actually, Dad, that's what we wanted to discuss. Vanessa and I have been working on a 5-year plan. We need more space. Her real estate business is expanding. We're thinking about starting a family soon. This house would be perfect for us. Perfect location. Perfect for them. My house. And where exactly would I go? Derek and Vanessa exchanged one of those looks couples share when they've rehearsed something. Well, Vanessa said sweetly, I've been looking at some condos in Burlington. There's a nice seniors complex near the lake. Units around 200,000. Much more manageable for someone in your situation. Close to medical facilities, too. My situation. The situation where I supposedly can't afford to live in my own house. Richard leaned forward, swirling his wine. Robert, I'm going to be direct with you. Property values in Oakville have gone through the roof. Your house is probably worth $2.5 million now, maybe more. That's a lot of equity for someone on a government pension. You could sell, give Derek and Vanessa a family rate, and still have enough to live comfortably in a smaller place. Plus, he added with that tone successful people use on those they consider less fortunate, you'd be helping your son build generational wealth. That's what fathers do, isn't it? What fathers do. I smiled and said I'd think about it. That night, after they left, I sat in my workshop until 3 a.m. My wife Margaret passed away 8 years ago. Cancer. She made me promise 2 things before she died. First, take care of our son. Second, make sure he becomes someone she'd be proud of. I was starting to wonder if I'd failed her on both counts. The email came 3 days later. Subject line: moving forward with property transition. Dad, Vanessa and I have consulted with a real estate attorney and a financial planner. We've found a solution that works for everyone. You transfer the deed to us now. We allow you to remain in the guest bedroom for up to 18 months while you transition to appropriate housing, and will cover reasonable moving expenses when the time comes. Richard has a financial advisor who specializes in seniors on fixed incomes. He can help you manage the proceeds responsibly. We'd like to begin the paperwork this week. This is in your best interest. They wanted the paperwork this week. For my house, the guest bedroom, in my own house, managing the proceeds responsibly, like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with money. I called Derek immediately. Dad, he said, sounding annoyed. Did you get my email? I did. We need to discuss this in person. There's nothing to discuss. Vanessa and I have thought this through carefully. This is what's best for everyone. Richard's lawyer already drafted preliminary documents. Best for everyone or best for you two? Dad, come on. You're 64 years old. How much longer can you realistically maintain a 4,000 square foot house by yourself? The property taxes alone must be killing you. What are they? 15,000 a year? Try 22,000. And you can afford that on your pension? His voice dripped with false concern that barely masked impatience. That's exactly my point. You're house poor, Dad. You're sacrificing your quality of life to hold on to a building. We're offering you a way out with dignity. A way out of my own home, The home where I raised him. The home where his mother died. And if I say no? Silence. Then Derek's voice got harder. Dad, don't make this difficult. Richard's lawyer looked into it. Ontario property law has provisions for family transfers, especially when there are concerns about the current owner's ability to properly maintain the property. We can do this the easy way or the complicated way. Are you threatening me with some kind of legal action? I'm trying to help you face reality. You drive a truck that's older than some of my coworkers. You shop at No Frills. You haven't taken a vacation since Mom died. Meanwhile, you're sitting on over $2 million in real estate equity that could transform both our lives. This isn't about taking something from you. It's about smart financial planning for the whole family. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I taught Derek to make grilled cheese sandwiches when he was 6, and realized my son genuinely believed he was rescuing me from myself. The legal documents arrived by courier the next afternoon. Official letterhead from Henderson Legal Associates. Richard's brother, apparently. The language was dressed up as care and concern, property transfer agreement, cohabitation arrangement, transition support plan. I had 45 days to sign or they'd pursue alternative legal remedies to ensure proper property stewardship and protect the family's interests. Property stewardship. For the house I paid for in cash 26 years ago. The letter included a helpful breakdown of my estimated monthly expenses based on typical pension income for someone of your employment history. They'd calculated I could barely afford groceries after housing costs. The final paragraph made my chest tight. This arrangement allows Robert McLeod to age in place with dignity, while ensuring the property remains in family hands and is properly maintained for future generations. Age in place with dignity. In the guest bedroom of my own house, the smallest room, the one with the single bed and the window that faces the neighbor's fence. I walked to my home office and opened the filing cabinet I hadn't shown Derek since he was a teenager, the one he thinks contains old tax returns and mortgage papers. The documents were exactly where I'd left them. Macleod Development Group Articles of Incorporation from 1989. Property deeds for 16 commercial buildings across the GTA. Bank statements from RBC showing liquid assets of $38 million. Investment portfolio statements. The Globe and Mail business section from 12 years ago. Headline: The Quiet Giant of Toronto Development. I spread everything across my desk and took photos with my phone. Then I made my list. First call was to Patricia Wong, my lawyer for 22 years. She picked up on the second ring. Robert, what's wrong? You never call during the week. Patricia, I need documents prepared quickly. Derek's trying to take the house. What kind of documents? The kind that teach my son the difference between inheriting something and earning it. Patricia was quiet for a moment. How quickly are we talking? 48 hours. And Patricia, make sure everything's airtight. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Second call was to James Chen, CEO of McLeod Development Group. Technically my employee, but he runs all day-to-day operations and has for 15 years. James, I need to accelerate the Queen Street acquisition, the whole portfolio. Full cash offer, close by Friday. Robert, that's aggressive. The Henderson Group has been trying to outbid us for months. They've got designs submitted for 3 of those buildings. I know. That's partly why I want them. Make it happen. James understood immediately. This is about Derek, isn't it? About his father-in-law's firm? Just make it happen. Third call was to my granddaughter, Emma, Derek's daughter from his first marriage, before Vanessa. She's 22 now, just finished her business degree at Queen's, works part-time at a coffee shop while figuring out her next move. She's the only one in the family who visits me regularly without wanting something. The only one who knows I'm not exactly what I appear to be. Grandpa, she said when she picked up, is everything okay? Emma, I need you to come to dinner this weekend. At my house. Your dad and Vanessa will be there. And the Hendersons. That sounds like a nightmare. Why would I want to be there? Because I'm going to need a witness. And because after this weekend, your father is either going to become the man your grandmother hoped he'd be, or he's going to learn the hardest lesson of his life. Either way, I'd like you there. Emma was quiet. Then, Grandpa, is this about the house? Dad mentioned something about helping you transition. Something like that. Are you finally going to tell them? I think it's time, Emma. She laughed, but there was sadness in it. I'll be there. But Grandpa, go easy on him if you can. He's not a bad person. He's just been surrounded by bad influences for too long. I know, sweetheart. That's what I'm counting on. By Sunday evening, everything was in motion. Derek had no idea what was coming. The dinner party was Vanessa's idea. A celebration, she called it. 30 people at my house. Her real estate colleagues, Derek's architecture firm partners, the Hendersons' social circle. Everyone drinking wine that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. Vanessa had hired caterers from some fancy place in Toronto. She introduced them to my kitchen like she already owned it, pointing out everything that would need to be replaced. Derek wore a suit that probably cost $3,000. His watch caught the light. Rolex. He'd mentioned it cost $18,000. Investment piece, he'd said. I showed up from my workshop wearing my work Carhartt and steel-toed boots. Carried a case of Molson Canadian. $12 at the beer store. Vanessa intercepted me at the door. Robert, she said, barely concealing her panic. You're here. I thought maybe you'd want to freshen up first. Freshen up from what? From whatever you were doing in the garage. Into something more appropriate. The Hendersons' friends are here. Partners from Richard's firm. Important people. These are my work clothes. Derek appeared behind her. Dad, please, just this once. Put on the blazer I bought you for Christmas, the navy one. I'm fine, I said, walking past them both. The room shifted when I entered. Not silent, but that recalibration that happens when something doesn't fit. I saw Derek's boss, a man named William Cole, Henderson's partner. Saw Vanessa's top client, a woman who'd just paid her $40,000 in commission on a lakefront property. Saw Richard Henderson holding court with a glass of wine that probably cost $60 a bottle. Robert, Richard called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. Glad you could join us. Come here. Let me introduce you around. He steered me toward a group of men in expensive suits. This is Derek's father, Robert. Robert, this is James. He's in commercial development. And William, you know, from the firm. And Thomas, private equity. They shook my hand with that careful politeness successful people use around those they consider beneath them. So, Robert, Richard continued, what line of work were you in? Construction, wasn't it? Vanessa appeared with a beer for me. From my own case, I noticed. Not the fancy imports everyone else was drinking. What kind of construction? Thomas asked. Residential? Commercial? Bit of everything. Mostly commercial, towards the end. James nodded. Honest work. Hard on the body, though. Vanessa jumped in. Robert's actually thinking about his next chapter. Aren't you, Robert? We've been helping him look at his options. This house is really too much for one person to handle. Derek and I have been discussing taking over the property, helping Robert transition to something more suitable. The conversation continued around me like I wasn't there. Everyone discussing my future, my house, my finances. Derek's partner William mentioned retirement communities in Niagara. Catherine Henderson recommended her financial planner, who specializes in fixed-income seniors. Through it all, I sipped my Molson and watched my son nod along like everything being said was perfectly reasonable. Finally, Richard cleared his throat and tapped his wine glass with a spoon. Everyone, if I could have your attention. That's partly why we've gathered tonight. Derek and Vanessa have some news they'd like to share. Derek stood up, pulling Vanessa with him. His hand was shaking slightly. Dad, we wanted to tell you with everyone here because they're all part of our support network. Vanessa and I have made a decision about our future. We're pregnant, Vanessa announced, hand on her stomach. The room erupted in congratulations. But Derek held up his hand. And because of that, we're moving forward with some life changes. We've been working with legal counsel to finalize the transition of this property into our names. Dad will be comfortable and taken care of during the process. We're building something for the next generation. More applause. Someone proposed a toast to new beginnings and family legacy. Everyone raised their glasses. I stayed seated. Derek noticed. Dad, aren't you happy for us? I'm curious about something, I said. The room got quieter. Derek, how much do you think this house is worth? He looked confused. We had it appraised. $2.3 million. Why? And how do you think I've been paying the property taxes for 26 years on a construction worker's pension? Richard answered for me. Robert, we understand it's been a struggle. That's exactly why this arrangement makes sense for everyone. There is no struggle, I said. I paid cash for this house in 1998, $420,000. Money from the sale of my first company. Derek laughed nervously. Dad, that's not possible. That kind of money. Where would a construction worker get that? Where would I get it? I repeated slowly. The room was definitely quiet now. Derek, do you know what company I worked for in construction? You never really talked about it. Something small. I didn't work for a small company, Derek. I owned one. Still do, technically. It's called MacLeod Development Group. We've built 16 commercial towers in the GTA, 3 shopping centers, about 4,000 residential units over the years. William Cole, Derek's boss, spoke up. MacLeod Development is privately held, one of the biggest developers in Ontario. The owner is. He pulled out his phone, typed something, and went pale. Robert MacLeod. He looked up at me. You're that Robert MacLeod? I am. Vanessa made a choking sound. That's impossible. You drive a truck from 2004. Do you want to see the company website? I pulled out my phone. Real-time project dashboard. Current developments under construction. I scrolled down. 4 active projects. Combined value, $460 million. Richard Henderson had stopped breathing for a moment. You're Robert MacLeod, the Robert MacLeod. We've been trying to partner with MacLeod Development for years. Your company outbid us on the Yonge Street project, the Queen Street portfolio. The Queen Street portfolio, I interrupted. Yes, I closed on that yesterday, actually. Paid $42 million cash, full acquisition, the whole block. Derek found his voice. Dad, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the 6 buildings your father-in-law's firm has been trying to acquire for the past year, the ones where Henderson and Cole submitted architectural designs. I bought them yesterday afternoon. I'm bringing in a different design firm. William Cole went white. Those buildings. We had conditional agreements. You had proposals. I had cash. The sellers preferred certainty. Richard stood up abruptly. Robert, surely we can discuss this. There must be some arrangement. There's nothing to discuss. Your family spent the past year treating me like an incompetent old man while trying to steal my property. You sent legal threats to my home. You had your brother draft intimidation letters. And now you want to make arrangements? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. RBC Private Banking. Account balance as of this morning. I turned the screen so everyone could see. $38 million. Vanessa gasped. I opened another screen. Investment portfolio, $12 million. Real estate holdings, personal properties separate from the company, another $6 million. Total liquid net worth. I did the math publicly, just over $56 million. Plus the company valuation, which sits at $85 million. Though that fluctuates with the market. The first to leave were Derek's colleagues. They made excuses about early meetings and babysitters. Then Vanessa's clients. Then the Henderson social circle. Within 15 minutes, the house had cleared of everyone except Derek, Vanessa, Richard, Catherine, and Emma, who had been sitting quietly in the corner the entire time. Richard made one last attempt. Robert, this is clearly a misunderstanding. We had no idea. You had no idea because you never asked. You saw an old truck and work clothes and decided you knew everything you needed to know about my financial situation. Then you tried to use legal intimidation to take my home. We were trying to help. You were trying to steal. There's a difference. And now, I said, standing up, I need you to leave my home. Derek and Vanessa, you'll receive formal documentation tomorrow. Documentation? Vanessa whispered. You've been living in my coach house for 3 years, the converted space above the garage, the one I let you use rent-free while you saved for a down payment. The one you somehow convinced yourselves was a stepping stone to owning my entire property. Derek's face was ashen. Dad, the coach house is legally a separate dwelling on my property. As of this morning, you're both under 60-day notice to vacate. My lawyer will deliver the papers tomorrow. You can't evict us, Richard blustered. We'll fight this. With what grounds? You've been living rent-free in my coach house under a verbal month-to-month agreement. I'm terminating that agreement. Ontario law gives you 60 days. I suggest you use them wisely." Emma stood up then. She'd been so quiet most people had forgotten she was there. "For what it's worth," she said to no one in particular, "Grandpa's been building McLeod Development since before I was born. He could have told you any time. He was waiting to see if you'd value him for who he was, not what he had." Derek turned to her. "You knew? You knew about all this?" "I've known since I was 16. Grandpa showed me the company, explained why he lives the way he lives, that having money and needing to show it off are two completely different things." "And you didn't tell me?" "It wasn't my secret to tell. And honestly, Dad," she shook her head, "I was hoping you'd figure it out yourself. That you'd realize Grandpa's worth loving whether he has money or not." The Hendersons left without another word. Derek and Vanessa stood in my living room, in my house, looking like survivors of a shipwreck. Finally, Derek spoke. "Dad, I'm sorry. I know. I didn't. We didn't. You didn't know. But you didn't not know because I hid it from you. You didn't know because you never asked. In 34 years, Derek, you've never once asked me about my work. Not really. Never asked what I did before you were born, how I built this house, what my life was like before I became Dad who fixed things." His voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because your mother made me promise to take care of you. She also made me promise to make sure you became someone she'd be proud of. I spent 18 years giving you everything you needed. I wanted to see who you'd become without the expectation of inheriting something." Derek sat down heavily. "And I failed. You tried to steal my home. You threatened me with lawyers. You let your father-in-law treat me like a senile old man at my own dinner table." Vanessa was crying. "We thought we were helping. We genuinely thought. You thought you were helping yourselves. There's a difference between caring for someone and taking advantage of them. You wanted my equity. You wanted to look successful to your friends. You wanted to skip the hard part of building something yourselves." I stood up. "I need you both to leave now. Dad, please. You have 60 days to find new housing. Use them well." They left just after midnight. Emma stayed behind. We sat on my back porch, the same porch where I taught Derek to throw a baseball when he was 9, and watched the stars. "That was hard, Grandpa." "It had to be." "Do you think he'll change?" "I think he has the capacity to. Whether he chooses to is up to him." Emma leaned her head on my shoulder, something she'd done since she was a little girl. "For what it's worth, Grandma would be proud of you. You gave him the chance to prove himself. That's all anyone can do. Your grandmother was the best person I ever knew. Every good thing I've built, I built because of her." "I know," she paused. "What happens now?" "Now we wait. We see what Derek's made of when he doesn't have anyone else to lean on." The Instagram disaster happened the next morning. Vanessa had gone live. 22,000 followers watching her have a complete meltdown in her Mercedes in the driveway of my coach house. "You guys, I can't even explain what happened. My father-in-law isn't broke. He's worth like $100 million. He owns McLeod Development, the company, and we just tried to take his house from him." The comments exploded. People calling her out, asking for details, demanding explanations. Vanessa kept going. "He's been letting us live in his coach house rent-free for 3 years. 3 years. And we repaid him by trying to force him out of his own home. We sent lawyers. We had my dad's brother write threatening letters. And he just..." She wiped her eyes. "He just made a few phone calls and everything collapsed." Derek appeared in the frame. "Vanessa, turn it off." "No." Her voice was firm. "No. People need to see who I really am, who we really are. We judged my father-in-law by his truck and his clothes and decided he was beneath us. We were so wrong about everything." The viewer count climbed. 6,000 people watching my daughter-in-law realize the magnitude of what she'd done. "And now," she continued, "my dad's firm is losing the biggest development opportunity of the decade because Robert bought the buildings out from under them. Derek's company might lose half their projected revenue. My Instagram is going to be destroyed after this. And you know what?" She laughed through her tears. "I deserve it. I deserve all of it." Derek tried again. "Please, if you're watching this, Robert, Vanessa said directly to the camera. "I'm so sorry. We don't deserve your forgiveness. We were entitled and cruel, and we thought we were better than you because we had nice things and you chose to live simply." She ended the stream. By noon, the clips were everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube reaction videos. Real estate agent tries to steal secret millionaire's home, loses everything. It went viral in the worst possible way for them. Derek showed up at my house 3 weeks later. He looked 10 years older. Hadn't shaved, clothes wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. "Dad, can we talk?" "Of course." He sat down across from me on the back porch. Same spot where we used to have breakfast when he was a kid. "Vanessa and I have been up for weeks. Her Instagram is destroyed. Lost 90% of her followers. Her real estate clients have canceled their listings with her. My firm." He paused. "Richard's furious. The Queen Street deal falling through cost Henderson and Cole an estimated $15 million in projected revenue. William's been questioning my loyalty, asking if I knew about your company, if this was some kind of inside sabotage. Did you know?" "No. I swear. I had no idea." I sipped my coffee and waited. Derek looked out at the backyard, at the garden his mother had planted years ago. "Dad, I need to know something. Did you plan all this? The acquisition? The eviction? Everything? Did you know we'd try to take the house, and you set up this elaborate lesson? Derek, did you plan to take my house?" He looked down. "Yes." "When did you decide that?" "When we realized how much equity was sitting here. When Vanessa calculated what we could do with that money. When Richard told us we were entitled to it as family. When—" He swallowed. "When we convinced ourselves that you were too simple to know what you had and that we were doing you a favor by managing it for you." I set down my coffee. "Do you know why I live the way I live? Why the old truck, the simple clothes, the beer from the beer store?" He shook his head. "Your mother and I talked about this before she died. She was worried about you, Derek. Worried that growing up comfortable would make you soft. Worried that you'd never learn what things really cost. We decided together that when you were old enough to be on your own, I would live modestly, not pretend to be poor, just not flaunt wealth. I wanted to see if you'd love me for who I was, not what I had." Derek's eyes filled with tears. "And I failed. You tried to steal from me. You treated me like a burden to be managed. You let your wife and her parents humiliate me in my own home, while 30 people watched. I know. Do you understand why that hurt more than anything else? It wasn't the money, Derek. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. It was that my own son looked at me and saw someone worthless, someone to be pitied, someone who needed to be put away in a condo in Burlington so he could have my house." Derek broke down completely. He sobbed like he hadn't since he was a child, since his mother's funeral. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." I let him cry. Some things need to come out before they can heal. Finally, when he'd composed himself, I spoke again. "What are you going to do now?" He wiped his face. "I don't know. My position at Henderson and Cole is untenable. Richard wants me gone. Vanessa's business is destroyed. We've got 60 days to find housing we can actually afford, and it turns out we have no savings because we spent everything on appearances. The Mercedes is leased. The suits are on credit. Our entire life was built on looking successful instead of being successful. Sounds like you've got some work to do." "Dad, I don't know how to start over. I'm 34 years old and I've never had to actually struggle for anything." "Then it's time to learn." He looked at me with something I hadn't seen in years. Humility. "Can you, would you, help me?" "Not with money," I said firmly. "But I can give you advice. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Find work that builds something real, not just status. Learn to live on what you actually earn, not what you want people to think you earn." And Derek, I waited until he met my eyes. "Learn to value people for who they are, not what you think they have." He nodded slowly. "Vanessa wants to apologize. In person. She's too ashamed to come without an invitation. Tell her she's welcome here. This is still her family, whether she deserves it right now or not." Derek left that afternoon. I watched him drive away in Vanessa's Mercedes, the one they'd be returning to the dealership by the end of the month. Then I called James Chen. "James, the junior position we discussed. The project coordinator role at the Scarborough development. Yes? Cancel it. Derek doesn't need a handout. He needs to build something himself. Are you sure, Robert? It would be a good opportunity for him. The best opportunity I can give him is letting him figure things out on his own. That's worth more than any job I could hand him. 2 months later, Derek and Vanessa showed up at my house. They came in a used Honda Civic, 3 years old but clean. Derek wore jeans and a simple button-down. Vanessa had her hair in a ponytail. No professional styling. They looked younger somehow. More real. "Dad," Derek said, "we wanted to talk to you together." "Come in." They sat in my living room, the main house they'd been so eager to take from me. Vanessa spoke first. "Robert, I wrote something. I wanted to read it to you." "Go ahead." She pulled out a folded piece of paper. Her hands trembled slightly. "Robert, 2 months ago I tried to take your home because I thought I was entitled to it. I thought you were a simple man who didn't understand value, and I was a sophisticated person who had earned success. I was wrong about everything," she continued, voice steady now. "I spent my entire adult life measuring worth by price tags. Your truck was old, so you must be poor. My Mercedes was expensive, so I must be successful. I never once asked what it cost you to support Derek through school, to pay for our wedding, to let us live rent-free for 3 years. I never said thank you because I thought you owed us." She folded the paper. "I'm not asking you to take us back. I'm not asking for money or help or anything. I'm asking for a chance to become someone you wouldn't be ashamed to call family." Derek added, "We both got jobs. I'm working at a small architecture firm in Hamilton, starting over at entry level, $46,000 a year. Vanessa's working at a furniture store, learning retail from the ground up. We found an apartment in Brampton, $950 a month. It's small, but we're paying for it ourselves." Vanessa continued, "We're learning to cook, to budget, to live on what we actually make instead of what we thought we deserved. It's hard, Robert. Some nights I cry because I can't just buy things anymore. But it's also," she searched for the word, "honest. For the first time in my life, I know exactly what things cost." I looked at my son. "What have you learned, Eric?" "That I didn't know anything." He said it quietly. "You raised me comfortable, and I never appreciated it. Never asked what it took for you to give me everything. Not just money, time, energy. Choices you didn't make so you could take care of me." His voice cracked. "I'm 34 years old, and I'm just now learning how to be an adult." I nodded slowly. "That's a start." Derek pulled out his own piece of paper. "Dad, I wrote something too. I learned that being a man isn't about having impressive titles or expensive things. It's about working hard, keeping your word, and earning what you have instead of expecting it to be handed to you. You showed me that every single day. I was too blind to see it." I watched them both. Really looked at them for the first time in years. "You weren't blind," I said finally. "You were entitled. There's a difference. Entitled means thinking you deserve things just because you exist. Blind would mean you couldn't see the truth. You could see it, Derek. You chose to ignore it because it was easier." He nodded. "And now? Now, I'm grateful for a $46,000 job because I earned it myself. I'm grateful for a $900 apartment because it's ours. I'm grateful you're even willing to talk to us." Vanessa added, "The Instagram thing was the best thing that happened to me. I lost everything. Every client, every follower, my entire image. But now I know who I am without the performance. Just Vanessa, selling furniture, learning to cook spaghetti without burning it." I smiled slightly at that. "Burning spaghetti takes talent." She laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard from her. "I burned water last week." Derek had to explain how that was even possible. Derek laughed too, and for a moment he looked like the little boy I remembered, the one who used to help me in the workshop, who asked 1,000 questions about everything. "Would you both like to stay for dinner?" Their faces lit up. "Really? Really? But we're cooking together." "I don't do restaurant food. We made pasta. Simple stuff, nothing fancy." Vanessa actually did better this time, only slightly overcooked. Derek made garlic bread and only set off the smoke detector once. We ate at my old kitchen table, the one I built when Derek was 5. No phones, no Instagram, no performance, just dinner. As they were leaving, Derek turned back. Dad. Yes? Thank you. For what? For everything. For the house I grew up in. For the education you paid for. For the lesson you taught us, even though it hurt. For not giving up on us when you had every reason to. I haven't given up, I said. I've just stopped doing the work you need to do yourself. Derek hugged me. First real hug in years. We'll see you next week? Same time? I'd like that. After they left, I sat on my back porch and watched the stars come out, same as I'd done for 26 years. I pulled out my phone and called Emma. Hey, Grandpa. How'd it go? Better than expected. They're learning. I knew they would. Dad's not a bad person. He just needed a wake-up call. Your grandmother would have agreed with you. Grandpa, Emma's voice got softer. You did good. You gave Dad what he actually needed instead of what he wanted. That takes strength. It takes love, Emma. Everything worth doing takes love. I sat there for a while longer, thinking about Derek at his new job, about Vanessa selling furniture, about the dinner we'd just shared with slightly burned garlic bread and laughter, about how sometimes the only way to give someone everything is to first let them lose everything they thought they had. If you're watching this, leave a comment and let me know where you're from. And remember this, success isn't what you own. It's not the car you drive or the house you live in or the clothes you wear. Success is who you become when nobody's paying your way. That's the only inheritance worth leaving behind. And if you haven't called your parents lately, maybe give them a ring. You might be surprised what you don't know about them.